Yo, what's going on, guys? Chris Bonner here, Power Training TV. This week's strength video, I thought it was a pretty cool opportunity for me to share some things with you. My buddy here, Cole, he's came down to strength camp before, and he's actually helping us out a lot by interning. He was working out last week, and what he was asking me is if I could take a look at his front squat and see if there's some things that he can do to improve it or improve the mechanical advantage, maybe up the weight a little bit. So first thing what I do is, as I'm coaching and I'm looking at somebody performing a movement, is where is the load, and is it in a mechanical advantage or disadvantage, and what stimulus are you trying to apply to the body? Are you trying to go for max weight, or are you trying to work a particular set of muscles for your posture, or anything in between? So Cole set up, and you know, we already, I'm trying to reenact his previous form, so bear with me. But how he had it set up was, he was very narrow in his arms. So if you could see, come around here, Danny. If you could see, come in even more, you were like right around your shoulders. So as you can see, when he was right there, it appears to be a good front squat. Now go ahead and take that off. Come to the side and see a rep of that. Good, elbows in. Go ahead and do it. Yeah. Now I've corrected him, but essentially what this did, you can wrap that. Just go ahead and step right in right here. Essentially what this did was, we've been working on it since last week. He's actually made a huge improvement. But what that front load did here for him, because of his flexibility, it created a mechanical disadvantage. What happened was, he was loading so far forward that he was fighting it, and his knees were coming really far forward, placing the load over top of it and making him force his thoracic extension more. Now, if you're working posture, this would be great. But since he was working on trying to get a bigger front squat, I told him to widen out his arms. By widening out his arms, he was able to place the load a little bit back. I mean, we're talking millimeters here. But what that did was able to have his torso more upright. Okay, so now let's see the next one. If you can come around here real quick. As you can see, he's about a hand width apart now in difference. You know, he's not right over his shoulders. He's actually a little bit more out, creating a little bit more flexibility there. And actually what I did was I stretched his external rotators, okay? So he wasn't able to get into that position. I had to stretch his external rotators statically, and then he was allowed to get into this position. Now that he's in this position, go ahead and step out. As you can see from the side, when he comes down, his torso, if we look at his spine, is way more upright. Come back up. Perfect. Go ahead and rack it. His torso is way more upright, supporting that leg, and that's the position we want to be in. Now that he got this, he said it felt a little uncomfortable. His knees were still shooting a little bit further forward. What I typically look at, and the cue that I always use, is I usually see where the balls drop. It should drop right in between the heels, and the torso should be completely upright. However, I could see him still struggling here. Just to show you guys, you don't have to do it, but his toes were out like a normal squat we teach here, and his legs were caving in here. What I asked him to do was actually the opposite of what some coaches would have you do. See, some coaches would have you want to go out and spread the legs even further. What I did, and just to give you a little insight of what I'm looking for, is let me see if it's in the hips or the feet. What I did was I brought his feet look forward completely straight, and then as assessed from there. And what I saw was it kind of went away. What I asked him to do was screw his feet into the ground. You guys have heard me say this time and time again. And screw his feet into the ground, really utilizing the glute and hamstrings. So as you can see, as I moved his feet in and had him screw his feet into the ground, what you'll see is he felt off balance. Now, as opposed to the load feeling forward, he felt like he was falling backwards. Go ahead and go into that. As you can see, the narrow feet, stance up, boom, come back up. He's been working on it, but he felt like every rep he was coming backwards. What that told me is his ankle flexion wasn't there. And from that stance, I was able to put small 5-pound plates right underneath his heels. So as you can see here, we came in a lot more narrow. We raised the heel just a little bit because his flexion in his ankles wasn't there. And what I was able to determine from there is, as you can see here, boom, good. Feet straight, screw your feet into the ground, torso upright, go ahead and sink. Perfect, come out of that. As you can see, not only did he get deeper, but he's told me it's felt a lot more torque coming out of his heels. So we cured the ankle flexion, we cured the load. One last thing that I typically saw, go ahead and rack it, you can. What I asked him to do was, I said, take a walk to me. You know, I stood right in front of him and I told him to take a walk to me. And what I assessed there was I'm over exaggerating, but what you could see was the legs came in. So when I remember and I saw his legs come in like this when they were turned out, which should be the opposite, is I either said, okay, he has tight adductors or something's going on with the feet. Remember I told you that? So what I determined through him walking was that he had a navicular drop. This basically means that he has no arches, he has really flat feet. And through that you'll typically see that. When you see the legs come in, either they don't know how to activate the glutes and hamstrings, they have flat feet, or they have tight adductors. And this situation just happened to be really flat feet. So now we're working on building up his arches, which will produce more torque out of that squat as well, put him in the right position. This was a little bit more extensive, but I thought I had to share this with you guys. I hope it helps. Front squat technique, assess yourself, assess somebody that you're coaching with. I'll holler at you guys next time.